What's up, guys? I'm Chad Barnes, and welcome to the channel. Here, it's all about real car talk, from simple fixes to smart driving tips and keeping your ride in top shape. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, and make sure you watch all the way through. There's a lot of good stuff coming. Let's get to it.
The farewell to the N74 engine is somewhat premature. We really won't see it on new production BMWs, but it will remain the main engine for the current Rolls-Royce lineup. And it has chances to stay in production for a long time. The British are planning to completely switch from internal combustion engine to electricity by 2030 and reject intermediate hybrid schemes. So, the king is dead, long live the king. Let's start with him. The N74 engine replaced its predecessor with the Index N73 back in 2008. Its first version had a volume of 6 litres and produced 536 horsepower, and the recipient was a 760 Li in the F01 body. A couple of years later, it was bored to 6.6 litres, and in this form with output from 563 to 602 horsepower, it stood under the hood of the Rolls-Royce lineup, Ghost, Wraith and Dawn, and then headed the motor range of the current 7 BMW. Well, since 2017, the English brand received a version of this motor with a canonical working volume of 6.75 litres. Actually, this engine is equipped with the current Ghost, Phantom and Cullinan. How long N74B68 will live is an open question, because on the way to electric cars the British can pass the downsizing stage. But we will hope that it will not come to that. Another English brand that keeps V12 engines in its range is Aston Martin. The brand's business is not as successful as we would like, but cooperation with Mercedes-Benz and the forthcoming transition to electricity allow to give positive forecasts. Cooperation with Germans, by the way, concerns a hard affairs. One of the main motors for Aston Martin is Mercedes V8 with the Index M177. But so far the British keep an alternative, own V12 with Index A31, which at volume in 5.2 litres gives out 630 horsepower on DB11 and 715 forces on DBS. Curiously, a few years ago, the main V12 engine for Aston Martin was a unit that goes back to Ford's Duratec. In fact, that 5.9 litre motor consisted of two 3-litre V6s connected longitudinally. And now at the top of the line is a completely different unit, 6.5-litre V12, created in cooperation with Cosworth and named Cosworth I. This monster spins up to 11,000 RPM and produces 1,000 horsepower without a supercharger. It is intended for the hypercar Valkyrie, where it works in tandem with an electric motor, bringing the total output to almost 1,200 horsepower. Aston Martin Valkyrie 2021 N. Why, of course, the talk about powerful and unique engines could not do without Italian brands. V12 engines are present in the Ferrari range since the 40s of the last century, and it is simply impossible to imagine the brand without them. The current version of the V12 is a 6.5-litre unit, which has several forcing variants. For example, on the 812 Superfast and GTS it produces 800 horsepower, and on the Monza, 810. For the 812 Competizione and Daytona SP3 models, the cutoff has been raised from 8,500 to 9,250 RPM, raising output to between 830 and 840 horsepower. This translates to a specific output of nearly 130 horsepower per litre of displacement without supercharging, making it one of the most highly boosted engines in the world. The next Italian brand in the list was not difficult to guess. The name Lamborghini is also tightly connected with V12 engines. The current engine has an Index L539 and was developed in the 2000 years when the Italians were already working under the wing of Audi. The working volume here is 6.5 litres and the base output is 700 horsepower. The first and key carrier of this unit was the Aventador, released in 2011. Of course, the Italians left a reserve for boosting, so for the past 10 years since the debut of the Aventador we have seen more powerful versions, Aventador S with 740 horsepower, Track SC18 Alston with 770 horsepower and LP780-4 Ultimi, which has 780 horsepower in reserve. But not Aventador alone, the same V12 engine was installed in the base and other models of the company. Among them are small edition exclusives Veneno and Centenario, as well as no less unique Shan, which became the first hybrid model of Lamborghini. And for the Essenza SC V12 track hypercar, the engine output was raised to 830 horsepower, so the car became not only the last atmospheric Lamborghini, but also the most powerful atmospheric Lamborghini. Guessing the brands that make V12 engines isn't that hard, but can you confidently name the leader in terms of the number of variants and models that carry these motors? That title belongs to Mercedes-Benz. The Germans have been developing 12-cylinder motors since before the war and have kept the V12 in their model lineup until now. The current motor with the index M279 appeared in 2012. Here there is one camshaft in each blockhead and 3 valves per cylinder, but with 2 turbochargers, this did not prevent the base output from being set at 530 horsepower. That's how much it produces, for example, on the S600L in the W222 body, as well as on the Mercedes-Maybach S600 and S600 Pullman. On the SUV G65 AMG its output is already 612 horsepower, and for the sedan and coupe S65 AMG and Roadster SL65 AMG the power was raised to 630 horsepower. Today, this motor remains under the hood of the Mercedes-Maybach S680, where it produces 612 horsepower. And if all-wheel drive M760 Li is still available for purchase from 14 million rubles, the S680 is exactly twice as expensive. However, Mercedes supplies its motors to other companies, and one of the most famous is Pagani. The company's current flagship is the Huayra, which is powered by the M158 motor, a 6-liter variation of Mercedes M275. From this volume, the Mercedes-AMG division removes power from 740 to 840 horsepower, but this is far from the limit. For example, the unique Huayra Pearl, which was produced in a single copy and has been in accidents at least twice since 2016, has a power output of 1,350 horsepower. Well, Pagani also do not refuse orders for the Zonda model, which formerly gave way to the new Huayra many years ago, but is still produced in single copies. Here the main engine is Mercedes M297 with a displacement from 6.9 to 7.3 liters, and before it was installed the well-deserved M120, known from the S600 in the W140 body. Supercars from Gordon Murray Automotive inspire hope that we may yet see new V12 motors in the future, if only from rare enthusiasts. Model Gordon Murray T50 not only does it have unique Formula One technology that allows it to drive upside down because of its enormous downforce, but also its own V12 engine. The creators fought for the minimum weight, which had to be put into 1 ton, so the working volume of the engine also had to be minimal. As a result, together with specialists from Cosworth, a unit with a working volume of only 4 liters was created, giving out 663 horsepower and cranking up to 12,000 revolutions per minute. The same motor will receive in the second model of Gordon Murray Automotive, a light supercar for every day called the T33, and as long as there are old-school racing engineers in the world, we still have something to hope for. And lastly, one of the main hopes of the Russian motor industry, a V12 engine for Urus cars. We have been talking about the flagship engine from the very beginning, and the engine was shown at the Nomi stand at the Moscow Motor Show as early as the last time 6 years ago. Moreover, in 2020, Urus representatives confirmed the Urus is still working on it. But so far, as of the beginning of 2022, all Urus models, including the flagship limousine, are equipped only with a V8 engine, and number 12-cylinder engine has been announced for the upcoming Commandant SUV. We can only hope that the honor of the uniform will help to overcome technical difficulties, and we will really see a conditionally serial V12, albeit laid down in cooperation with Porsche engineering. As we conclude our exploration of the last V12 engines still in production, it's clear that these remarkable powerhouses represent not just engineering excellence, but also a fading chapter in automotive history. With the shift towards more sustainable and efficient technologies, the era of the V12 is drawing to a close. While we may soon bid farewell to these iconic engines, their legacy will undoubtedly live on in the hearts of enthusiasts and collectors. Let us cherish the sound, the performance, and the passion that these engines have brought to the automotive world as we look forward to the innovations that lie ahead. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the final days of the V12.